Hello and welcome to day 3 of our 12-day review of 3rd grade math. We're going to get started today with a question from the 2017 release STAR test. I'll put day 3 up here. And so we're looking at fractions. And it shows two different fractions. They don't label the fractions for you, so we're going to need to do that. So this first fraction on the left has got 2 parts shaded out of 3 total parts, so that's 2/3. And then this other fraction on the right has got 2 parts shaded as well, but it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts total. So 2/3 and 2/8. So first we're going to have to figure out which one is bigger, which one has got more of a shaded area. And it's pretty obvious that the 2/3 is going to be greater. So I'll put a greater than symbol right there. My 2/8 is pretty small. This is one thing we learn in 3rd grade. It's easy to compare fractions that have the same numerator, even if you don't have a picture. If there were no picture here, we could compare these. Because the larger the denominator, the smaller each portion is. And that's the tricky thing with fractions. So if I wanted to draw, like, let's say 1/2. Well, that's pretty easy. I'm going to draw a circle, cut it into 2 parts, and boom, there's my 1/2. But some of you might think, well, what if I were to draw 1/6? Well, the 6 is bigger than the 2, but what if I took that exact same circle and now I have to cut it into 6 parts? And you see how these 6 parts, each of them is a little smaller because the same circle is broken up into 6 different chunks. It's the same thing with these fractions over here, 2/3 and 2/8. 2/3 is bigger because 3 parts are each going to be larger than each of those tiny 8 parts. So let's use what we know here to answer these questions. Which statement is true? 1/3 is greater than 6/8. Well, we got a problem here because what they're dealing with is 1/3. They're looking at the non-shaded parts. And we are looking at the shaded parts. So we're just going to get rid of that. And even if we were looking at that, 1/3 is not. This 1/3 is not greater than the 6. Look how big that 6/8 is. It would be the opposite. It'd be less than. 2/3 is greater than 2/8. Okay, that's what we said. 2/3 is greater than 2/8 because 2 shaded parts out of 3 is greater than 2 shaded parts out of 8. It looks like it's exactly what we said. Let's double check. 1/3 is less than 2/8. So this 1/3 right here is less than the shaded part. Well, first off, 1/3 looks a little bit bigger, but now we're looking at shaded, which one part was not shaded. We got shaded against unshaded, and that's just confusing. And then 2/3 right here, this is that big 2/3 right here, is less than 2/8. So it's the shaded parts, but it's got the wrong fraction. 2/3 is definitely not less than 2/8. It's greater than 2/8. So our answer is going to be B. So let's put that away. Let's look at our second problem for this session here. We're looking at even and odd. And you have a whole bunch of jerseys. And all it says is Lori's favorite basketball players each have an odd number. So odd numbers are numbers that have the digits 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 in the ones place. And the reason we know that is because even numbers can be split into 2 equal parts, right? So 1, if I were to try to split 1 into 2 parts, it would just have 1 little dot. You can't split it evenly. 2, you can split it evenly, 1 on each side. You notice my 3, I'm going to try to split that into 2 parts. I'm going to have 1, 2 over there, but there's no way to make it even. Here's my 4. I can do 2 on one side, and I can do 2 on the other side. And you see how the pattern continues. I'm not going to go all the way down, but you see that every time I get to an odd number, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, there's really no way for me to split them evenly. But even numbers can be split evenly. I can do 3 on each side. So that's how we know what odd and even are. So 1, 3, 5, and then 7 and 9 go along with that in the ones place. So let's just circle the ones place of each of these numbers. We don't worry about the tens place or even the hundreds place because the pattern continues. Or I could say this is 21 and 23 and 25 and 27, 29. It would be the same. We're only looking at the ones place for even and odd. So let's just mark this. All right, this is odd. 52, nope, that's even. 50, nope, that's even. 10, that's also even. 0 is an even number. All right, so 21 is odd, and 33 is odd. So really, it looks like we're looking for 3 jerseys. 21, 25, 33, and here we go. That's our answer right there. That's an even number. That's even, that's even, that's even, that's even, and that's even. So G is our answer. Remember, even numbers can be split into 2 equal parts. Odd numbers cannot. You're only looking at the ones place. All right, the final one for this evening is going to be number 2 on this. This is from a 2017 release STAAR test. We're looking at number lines. So this number line, and they're never going to line it up evenly. They're going to have this shifted over to the right. Which of these numbers does H represent 1/2? In case you wanted to find 1/2 here, they wouldn't want you to be able to simply line it up. So 1/2 means we've got 2 parts. So look at, I've got a part here, and I've got a part here. So I do have 2 parts. But 1/2 fractions, they need to be equal. And these are definitely not equal parts. So this is the first part here, but these are unequal parts. So that's not going to work. G, I've got 1, I've got 2, I've got 3 parts. So that's got 3 parts. And I'm just going to list unequal. So that's not going to be it. And let's see, H, I've got 1, I've got 2, I've got 3, I've got 4 parts. It is on the first one, but that looks like it's going to be 1/4. I'm needing 1/2. So let's hope it's J. I've got 1, I've got 2, I've got 3, I've got 4. Uh-oh. It looks like I either messed up or all of them are wrong. Let's think about this one right here again, this J. Here's the tricky thing. This is 2/4 because it's on the one, it's on the second one right there. But did you notice that this little arrow jumped over both of those parts? See, I treated each of these lines as a part, but look at this arrow. It's showing you that the jump is 1 part. So what if I were to do 1 big part here, and then another equal big part over here? There we go. That's my 1/2. So here's the thing that we're going to start learning in 3rd grade. 2/4 is equal to 1/2. And so our answer is going to be J. And so that is it for this session. If you want to see what day 4 has in store, please check out my website at aarondaffern.com.